The New York-based shared interest and non-profit social investment fund hosted its 20th anniversary annual awards gala at Gotham Hall on West 36th Street and Broadway in Manhattan. This was on February 27th. The black tie event this year honored Nobel Peace Prize laureate Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu for a lifetime of leadership for justice, reconciliation, and peace.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you all of you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you because today we are free.
Social justice advocate and philanthropist Reverend Mpho Tutu was also awarded for inspiring the next generation.
We didn't want it to be an unspoken and assumed reality. We wanted everyone to know that the legacy is my parents' shared legacy. It would not be without her as much as it would not be without him.
South African filmmaker Anant Singh accepted one for advancing social justice through film.
Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Arch, you have inspired us to be on this stage is just so amazing. So thank you, and for both of us to have the same thing with Ebrahim and Rosieda.
The South African Ambassador Ebrahim Rasool and his wife and human rights activist Rosieda Shabodien took home one for forging partnerships for equality and human rights.
Ebrahim, my dear husband, as usual, use more words to describe what is growing in the USA, especially as we mourn Madiba and celebrate 20 years of freedom. Simply put, it's Ubuntu. We are people through other people. The world needs this guiding philosophy more than ever before, and this defines the South African mission in the USA, the diplomacy of Ubuntu.
Finally, Avon Products Inc., a popular global beauty product company, was presented one for empowering women in South Africa. Award-winning journalist Charlene Hunter-Gold served as the evening hostess of the gala, as she also celebrated her 72nd birthday. There were performances by South African and African American a cappella group Tokoza, and also the Dance Theatre of Harlem was there to entertain the guests. An auction was held in which giant portraits of the late humanitarian Nelson Mandela and African artifacts were up for sale. SaharaTV had an opportunity to attend a press conference where Bishop Tutu responded to the recently signed anti-gay bill in Uganda. This is what he had to say.
What I think has been happening is that where these guys are faced with intractable problems, they look for something that seems to be fairly straightforward. And their undermining the humanity of their victims. But as we've seen in South Africa, they are in that process undermining their own humanity, and one just wants to appeal to them, for goodness sake, find something else to fight over.
The South African ambassador talked about the pending South African elections later on this year.
The question now is, how can we make a transition to reach qualitative goals? What happens with the education that we give our children? Can they get a job with it? What happens to the quality of healthcare? What is the quality of the economy that can create decent jobs for our people? So that's the first aspect of the second transition. The second aspect of the second transition is that we must make a transition from a focus on socio-political gains in the first 20 years to socio-economic gains. We've got to largely get the poor and the poor black people into the economy, whether it is through ownership, whether it is through management, whether it is through shareholding, or whether it is through simple, decent work in the economy. And I think if we can get those two legs of the second transition strong, we can make a difference in the next 20 years.
And the prospects of the ruling party, the ANC, retaining its position.
I think the parties on the right of the ANC have reached a ceiling. They are going to be just around together about 22–23%. I think there's a growth on the left maybe, where the economic freedom fighters are doing a challenge. The Congress of the People is reorganizing themselves because they've diminished in support and all of those kind of things. So by and large, I think the oppositional ceiling, very generously, is probably at about 30%. The ANC needs to understand how it is going to use the next opportunity to govern, and to do so with a sufficient mandate to drive the changes that I think the second transition requires.
Former New York Mayor David Dinkins took a moment to reminisce about his late former friend Nelson Mandela.
I think of him a lot. I maintain that because of what he demonstrated, one day there'll be peace in the Middle East. Think what a hurdle he surmounted. I just happened to have been in the stands in Johannesburg when the South Africa won the World Cup. It's the only rugby match I've ever seen before or since. But I happened to be there. And when he put the Springbok cap on his head, and 63,000 people, mostly white, yelled, "Nelson, Nelson, Nelson." He has demonstrated what can be.
We're right here at Gotham Hall on West 36th Street and Broadway, right in the middle of Manhattan. Tonight, Shared Interest, a non-investment fund from South Africa, was celebrating and honoring the Archbishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa, his daughter, the Reverend Mpho Tutu, Anant Singh, the filmmaker, who's responsible for the films like Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom, Yesterday, Sarafina, Cry Freedom, just to name a few, and also the ambassador and his wife, Ebrahim Rasool, and his wife, Rosieda. So we were all here in our thousands to witness this event. I'm Mpho Tutu for SaharaTV.